Anthony Richardson, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
This is AJ Brown, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
This is Josh Allen, and you're listening to RosterWatch.
Yes, RosterWatch Nation. Welcome back to the RosterWatch Pick'em Show presented by Underdog. UnderdogFantasy.com. Use that promo code ROSTER or RosterWatch and get a 50% deposit bonus up to $250. Tonight, we're closing in on another fantastic week of NFL games. Week 10, none other than the Miami Dolphins and the Los Angeles Rams. One team that is heating up, I think, becoming one of the more scary teams in all of football right now in the Los Angeles Rams and the Miami Dolphins, who have recently gotten healthy with the one and only Tua Tagovailoa, still on a 3-game losing streak coming out of that bye. Not in a great place at 2-6. This is, if there's ever a must win, I guess 3 weeks ago against the Colts and Cardinals would have been that. But they're in dire straits if they don't win this game against Los Angeles on Monday night in Los Angeles. So I got a couple of picks. That's all. Just two picks. I love them, though. This is the thing. I love them. The last couple of weeks on these primetime games, I've given you a couple that I love, and then I've reached on one extra one every week. I like 2, so let me give you 3. I like 3, so let me give you 4. This week, I love 2. I'm giving you 2 winners. Over the weekend, week 10, again, another great week, a part of RosterWatch Nation, 61.5% winning on the weekend. 8-5 was our record. We're now bringing our season total to 89-58 over at RosterWatch. We missed on the weekly show with Alex and I on Friday as he was hunting, so we did not get that show in. But you could have gotten those picks over at RosterWatch.com, or if you're a part of our email list, you could have gotten the email as well with all of the picks included. Sooner or later, this thing is going to be paywalled. This is the best. Let me say this without ego. We're the best in the game at giving props, at giving picks. That's period. That's the factual statement. 61.5% last week. 61% on the season, period. Point blank, you're welcome. All right, here's the picks for Monday Night Football. My favorites. First and foremost, Jalen Waddle. We're dealing with an injury right now for Tyreek Hill. It's a wrist injury. And the one thing that I have liked to take advantage of, or I've taken advantage of this year, is some guys that are dealing with injuries and coming back from. So that's been TJ Hawkinson the last couple of weeks. And TJ Hawkinson absolutely crushed this weekend. I think his number was somewhere around that 32.5 yards is what we got TJ Hawkinson with. I was in Jacksonville yesterday. TJ Hawkinson had 32 yards and 3 first downs in the first quarter, it felt like. So crushing there. And like I said, we have an injury here to Tyreek Hill. Wrist injury. DNP on Friday and DNP on Saturday. I feel like he's probably going to play here. But I feel like a lot more of the game plan is going to be focused around Jalen Waddle. Waddle, a guy, when we talk about him in fantasy terms, I haven't ranked him into the top 36 the last 4 or 5 weeks because he hasn't finished into the top 36 since literally week 1. Literally week 1. So we're not building this pick here based on any type of the trend line is great with Jalen Waddle. The trend line is not actually great with Jalen Waddle. It's just unfortunately, it's just not. I mean, that's just the nature of the game that we're playing right now. So the Jalen Waddle number, like I said before, is at where I just had it up on the screen. I think it was 43.5 is what I got it at. 43.5. And I'm just going to stay at receiver. I'm going to stay there, and I'm going to go to the Rams side of things, and that's going to be Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua with 5.5 receptions. His number, 68.5 receiving yards. Half touchdown, 1.5 rushing yards. The rushing yard one's always interesting to me with Puka. They always put it right there at a half or 1.5. It's kind of an interesting one to take on a weekly basis. 5.5 receptions, though. That's the number. So we're going point blank period. Jalen Waddle, if you want to tune out right now, tune out. See ya. 5.5 receptions for Puka Nacua. 43.5 receiving yards for Jalen Waddle. Those are my 2 favorite on the night. Targets for Puka Nacua is set at 8 currently right now. Cooper Kupp is also an interesting one. Both of these guys feel like on a weekly basis, one of them, if not both, are going to go for north of 8 receptions. Cooper Kupp's numbers are 6.5 receptions, 10 targets, 64.5 receiving yards. I don't like the 10 targets nearly as much with Kupp as I do the 8.5 targets with Puka. I mean, the 8 with Puka, but I love the 5.5 receptions with Puka. Puka, remember, exited last week's game because of a punch. I don't think it was a real punch, but they called it a punch. He got removed from the game, and that was the end-all, be-all with that. A couple of other interesting ones. Raheem Mostert's number at 28.5 rushing yards, I find interesting. Tyreek Hill, you're not getting a ton of value. It feels like you're getting a little bit of value here. His number's at 75.5. I feel like this thing should probably be around that 88 to 91.5 number. So I do think you're getting a little bit of value there, but the thing you're playing with fire. Because you have to concoct him in with somebody else from the Rams side, right? You can't just play a one-off player from the Dolphins. So Hill's interesting, but I would hate for him to have a very limited role. I just don't see that, though. If he plays, the rule from starter sit on Sundays is like if he plays, we play, and we assume he's just going to play. So there should be no problems there. If you're looking at the passing numbers here, Tua Tagovailoa at 244.5, Matthew Stafford at 255.5. You can play with both of their touchdown passes, 1.5 each side. If I was going to lean to a side there, I think I would go towards the Tua side because he has been throwing the football to Devon Achane a little bit more the last couple of weeks. So you exhibit some more upside with that speed out of the backfield. And on the Rams side, if I was going to go touchdowns, I would take the Kyren Williams higher than a half rushing plus receiving touchdown to be my number here. You're getting a 0.75x your money. Over there on Underdog, like I said, though, my two selections tonight. Again, you go to RosterWatch. You can go to RosterWatch.com too, and you can get any questions you need answered. But you go to UnderdogFantasy.com, use that promo code ROSTER, and get a deposit bonus of 50% up to $250. You get Puka Nacua, 5.5 receptions higher. And we're going to go over here and we're going to take Jalen Waddle, 43.5 receiving yards higher. And that's going to get us a standard of 2.67 times your money. So I'm going to put $10 down to get $26.70. Those are the picks for Monday Night Football. Remember to tune into everything RosterWatch, RosterWatch.com, at RosterWatch, on YouTube, on Twitter, X, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, we're there. Everything RosterWatch. Make sure you go over to RosterWatch.com. The season's coming around. There's a month left in the fantasy football season. Make sure to go over to RosterWatch. You got to get that championship. You can buy a monthly membership, and you get everything from RosterWatch: DFS, trading, weekly picks, start sit advice, everything, rankings, everything, all the tools. $9.99 a month. Going over to RosterWatch.com and do it today. We appreciate you. We love you. Please click that like button. Please click subscribe on your way out. I love you. I appreciate you. And I thank you. And we'll see you tomorrow for the Waiver Wire Show, 2:30 Eastern Time here on RosterWatch.